This is Eric Goodmanson here of Pegasus Technologies, and I'm here with one of our other employees. Who are you?
I'm Curt Wrigley. I'm the Technical Services Manager here at Pegasus.
How long have you been here at Pegasus with us?
Today, about 4 hours, but actually I started about 8 years ago.
Wow, all right. Well, in that case, you should have all the answers to the questions I'm about to ask.
I don't know about that, but I'll do my best.
Very good. Well, I wanted to ask you about Teams because we hear a lot of questions about Teams. Teams has been around for a long time, but it still feels like a new program to many people. So who can access Microsoft Teams?
Teams is available to anybody with a Microsoft 365 subscription. It used to be called Office 365, now Microsoft 365. So if you have Microsoft 365, you do have access to Teams, both through your desktop environment, that be Mac or Windows, or through a web interface, and also through mobile devices.
And many people think that Teams is for chat or video conferencing, but it also stores files. So can you tell me a little bit about how Microsoft Teams stores files?
Sure. As you said, Teams does many different things, all in one interface, and one of those things is to be a central store place for your files. Many of our customers and many companies around the world are migrating from on-premise servers that functioned as standalone file servers to putting their files in the cloud, and Teams is a mechanism to put your files in the cloud. The advantage being once they're there, you can collaborate with them, share the files with coworkers, and have access to them from wherever you are, as long as you have access to the internet.
Well, that sounds extremely useful, particularly today and where hybrid work is so very common. But traditionally, folks are accustomed to accessing their shared files via a mapped network drive, for instance, like an N drive. How can people browse shared files via Windows Explorer if they don't want to use the Microsoft Teams interface?
Well, what I'd like to do is switch to my screen, my computer screen, and actually show you how that is possible.
That would be fantastic.
All right, so I'm switching to share my screen. By the way, this demo that we're doing is being done in Teams as well.
And something while Curt is pulling that up is meetings can also be recorded in Teams with no third-party applications or extra stuff you have to buy. We're using the built-in recording feature of Teams to record this video.
That's right. So what you see on the right side of my screen is the Teams interface, and Eric mentioned chatting and doing your calendar planning and meetings like we're doing now. But if you click on the Teams icon, you'll see a list of teams that you have access to. And you can see that I have a Pegasus demo team here with multiple sections. Teams calls these sections channels. Now yours may look different. You may have one team with your company name and different department channels. You can also have multiple teams, if you like, that separate content by either department or function or security or permissions. But you will have at least one team. And you can see I branded ours with our logo on the team, and I just created these four or five channels here, kind of a typical department separation. And you can see when I click on engineering, I have a few files in here, and you see the file names. It can be any file type. You can see when it was modified last and who modified it the last time. And of course, if you click on them, one nice thing is it stays right in the Teams interface, so it doesn't go and open a separate Excel window, but it will open it right inside the Teams interface, so you don't have to leave the interface. So this is an example of an Excel file in Teams that I opened up. If for some reason you want to open it, you do have the option to open it in the desktop app right here at the top, and that will launch Excel in this case and launch the file in that desktop application.
Very helpful, but I still want to know how I can access all these files via Windows Explorer, because sometimes people just don't feel like using the file interface that's included with Microsoft Teams.
Right. Sorry, I got carried away and forgot to answer your question, Eric.
That's still good information, and I think that lays the foundation for what we're about to do. So it's nice to see, multiple ways of doing it, because just like everything else with computers, there's always many ways of doing it,
Yep.
and sometimes one is better than the other depending upon what you're trying to accomplish.
That's right. So Teams gives you the kind of the best of both worlds. You can keep them in the cloud and in the Teams interface so that everything's accessible wherever you are with access to the internet. Or you can have the files come down to your, in this case, Windows Explorer. I'm on a PC. Or they can come down to the Mac File Explorer also. And on my desktop here, you see an icon that looks like an office building, this blue icon. As in our case, says Pegasus Technologies, and it has a folder called Pegasus Demo Team General. That aligns with this channel in Teams called General. So any files that are in this general channel in Teams, if I click on that channel, I will see them here in Windows File Explorer locally on my C drive. And that's done through a synchronization. So there's a synchronization technology built into Teams and OneDrive that will synchronize these files back and forth. Now you may notice I have channels here that are not showing up under this office building icon, which represents Teams. We're not seeing engineering, human resources, operations, or sales. That's because by default, these channels do not automatically sync to your File Explorer. It only syncs the ones that you request. And it's very easy to do that. I'll show you the process right now. We will synchronize the engineering channel. We have these 4 files in there. And at the top, you'll see the button that's labeled sync. That will tell it to sync the files with your local File Explorer. So I'm going to click sync now. And we'll watch this happen in real time. It tells you that it's syncing the files. You can just close that window. And you can see over here in my Windows File Explorer, I now have a channel called Engineering, and you see that lines up with this engineering channel in Teams as well. So let me just expand this a little bit. So that's how you synchronize the files. So if I want to open that same engineering specs, I just double click in Windows. So if I'm on an airplane or somewhere away from the internet, I can have these files local on my PC and work with them offline.
And I see there are little icons in the status column, and I'm curious as to what each of those icons mean. I could have a guess, but I'm curious how you would explain it.
Okay, that's a very good question, very observant. So you see this file opened that we opened earlier. I'm just going to close it. And that also helps demonstrate these icons. The icons that are shaped like a small cloud, that means that this file actually, the design doc, for example, actually exists in the cloud. Project timeline exists in the cloud. The worksheet exists in the cloud. But engineering specs has a green check. That indicates that that file has been downloaded to my machine here and is available locally. So if I were to be disconnected from the internet, I would not be able to open the ones that have the cloud icon because the only thing it sunk was the name of the file. The actual content is stored in the cloud. But engineering specs, that has been downloaded because I just clicked on it a minute ago. So it had to download to my PC, and it is now available on my machine here if I were to go offline.
Well, let's say I don't need the engineering specs file anymore personally, but the company did want to retain that particular file. If I went in Windows Explorer on the left and deleted the engineering specs file, would that file be deleted for everyone?
It would. In fact, let me demonstrate that on project worksheet here. Oops, sorry, you see it here and you see it over here in Teams. I'm going to go ahead and right click on this and hit delete. And it will take a second to sync. Oh, it's giving me a warning. Deleted files are removed for everyone. So it is important that you understand that. And in just a moment, you should see the file disappear on the Teams side as well.
That makes sense. And what if maybe it's a really big file and maybe I don't have a lot of hard drive space available because I'm storing all my music on my computer and I prefer to have music instead of the engineering spec spreadsheets. How can I tell it to no longer sync the engineering spec spreadsheet, but not delete it because I still want the file to be there in the company-wide and I want it to be available in case I ever need it in the future?
Very good question. So I can right click on engineering specs. And there's an option here that two options I want to explain. One is the opposite of what you just said. Always keep on this device. So if I click that, the check mark will turn a solid green. And that means it will stay on this device permanently until I delete it. But if I say free up space, which is this option, I'll uncheck keep permanently on the device. If I click free up space on this menu option, then that green check will turn back to a cloud. So what it's done is deleted the content of the file from my computer, and it now has the reference to it here, but the content is only stored in the cloud.
That's incredibly helpful. I have one more related question on this topic, and that is, say I'm in the airplane, the way that you in the metaphor that you gave earlier. And in that case, or I should say in that case study, in that scenario, maybe I'm not sure which files I'll need, but I'll know I want to have access to every file in this folder. Is there a way I can tell it to synchronize every file in a particular folder without needing to individually open every file individually?
Yeah, I'm going to try and find I don't have one, so I'm going to add a folder to this so I can demonstrate that. So in the Teams interface, I can upload a folder. And in this case, I'm going to upload food.
I like the sound of that. And I would definitely want access to that folder so I know what kind of food I can eat when I land, that's for sure.
So you can see it uploaded that folder into Teams. I'm going to double click to show the contents. And sure enough, there's the food. And by the way, you can change the view to show tiles for if you're storing images. That may be more useful than showing a list. So that's just an extra tip there for you. Now let's sync this to Windows because I don't have that channel sunk. So I will go to the operations and just click sync. It's letting me know that it's syncing that folder over to Windows. And now you see over here in operations, there's my food folder. And that I think answers your question, how can I download an entire list of folders? And you see the cloud icons even in the image view. I'll double click on the spaghetti so that it downloads that file so you can see it changes that to a green check.
And then I assume if we go back to the operations folder, we could right click on the food folder and change that to be whatever we want via those two options you showed earlier.
That's correct. You could always keep on device or free up space.
Excellent. Well, Curt, that was extremely helpful. I think that answered all my questions about how we can use Microsoft Teams to access and share files. And it looks like it's a very efficient way of utilizing storage in the local device and keeping everything secure and available for multiple people. So thank you very much.
Of course, Eric. There's one question I get a lot, if you don't mind, if I can add this tidbit. That'd be all right.
Absolutely.
A lot of people say, I want these files and then I want to unsync them, but keep them on my computer. A way you can do that is to right click on the channel. And if you click on settings here, this will show you all the folders that you're syncing. So if I wanted to stop syncing operations, I can click stop sync. And you really do have to understand what you're doing here. But now you'll see that the icon is gone. There's no cloud icon on the food or on the images. You also notice the images that I didn't download since I unsunk these are gone because they existed only in the cloud, but the file I downloaded is still here. And I could delete this file now safely if I wanted to, and it would not get deleted from Teams because it is no longer sunk to that device.
That makes perfect sense. That's a great tidbit. And I would say if anyone watching this video wants any additional details on how to do some of these tasks or how to do different tasks in Teams, certainly you're more than welcome to reach out to Pegasus and we would be happy to help.
We would.
All right, Curt, thank you so much. I appreciate your time today.
All right, thank you.
All right,
bye-bye.